Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. Good morning. My OBS is being weird. Okay. Can you hear me? Oh, I know what it is. You know what's wrong? Come on. Okay, Mir says that you can hear me. Okay, there we go. All right. You know what? I'm a little off this morning. I think that I just didn't sleep very well because it took me way too long to get ready. All right, to the charts. So I was kind of mesmerized here looking at my chart. I don't know what's going on here with the ZT. I'm wondering, is it like, where's my market analyzer? Put the market analyzer up. There's a skip here though. There's like, it's like there's data missing. I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Yeah. I mean, it's not loading the new. Okay. Well, it looks like that the treasuries are rising here a little bit and that it is driven by oil. But here you can see a little bit of upside here in the treasuries. Well, that's actually interesting. Is it actually driven by oil, though? Well, here's the oil. Oil's actually up, so I don't know if that makes sense. But in the short term, there is a curious spike here in oil. It's seemingly where things kind of turned up. I'm not sure what to make of this, guys. Gold and silver kind of not reacting the same way either. Copper still down there. Japanese yen not really moving. The dollar maybe seeing a move. Bitcoin down overnight. There is definitely an issue with my overnight data. But if I reload it, it doesn't fix it. So I guess we're just gonna stick with it. Sure that we have Discord over here. So the reason I'm kind of like, is this actually working? Is because YouTube Studio is kind of acting like it's not running. Okay. If I refresh that tab, that seems to work. Okay, so let's make sure that we're over here, that we have the news squawk turned on. We did have ADP. Let's see here. ADP was 8.25K versus a previous change of 15K. That's not very good. Oh, you know what else? I don't have the fan on. Hold on. There, that's a little. I guess the reason that I feel a little out of sorts is that I was expecting the treasury market to be down, and one, because it does look like you getting some sort of a jump in oil, but two, because volumes are really, really low, and so the most dominant flow that you're probably going to see is hedging for CPI tomorrow, which means selling. But we're a little bit higher. That is very curious. U.S. fires on ship attempting to break Iran blockade amid several regional maritime attacks. So I don't see any new headlines. I read that before. Futures jump, oils tumbles as well-timed comments spark latest round of Hormuz optimism. That's new. Let's read this. U.S. equity futures were trading near session lows with bonds at August highs of 4.74 and Brent rising above $90 for the first time in 2 weeks, when within just hours until the market opened, we have the new standard double whammy of well-timed imminent deal optimism. Thanks first to the Qatar Foreign Ministry, followed less than an hour later by comments from the Pakistan Defense Minister, a man repeatedly used by the Trump administration to spread market-moving propaganda, which sparked instant algo buying on hopes of what else? An agreement to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. According to the Pakistani, the U.S. and Iran are close to some agreement, and the situation is moving towards peace, which was sufficient to not only push futures immediately to session highs, but just shy of all-time highs. Is it really shy of all-time highs? Well, I mean, I guess. But it wasn't that big of a move up. But again, there's some weird things in my data for some reason. 5 years, not the 5 and the 30 data, historical data are broken. Is there, Alfred says, is there an issue with NinjaTrader? Well, I mean, it's not, for me, it's not NinjaTrader's historical data. Because I guess NinjaTrader has its own data now, right? But it's Rhythmic. My Rhythmic historic data is not. I don't know. This is really weird. I think it's got to be something to do with NinjaTrader, though. It may be some sort of a strange setting that I've got set up with trading hours and that sort of a thing. So I'm not sure. What do you mean it's fine? It's weird that you have the opposite. You're saying it's fine on Rhythm. Yeah. Nobody, no, I don't think that anybody has an issue with the NinjaTrader data. Do you know somebody that's having an issue with the NinjaTrader data? Okay, I have missing data on NinjaTrader NinjaTrader overnight, early morning on CL. Oh yeah, no, that's the same thing. It's the same thing. Yeah, there got to. Okay, so here's a question, Alfred. Which version of NinjaTrader are you using? Are you on the 8.0 branch or the 8.1 branch? $8.028. I don't know why it would be today. So, well, let's see here. CME. What is the session for oil? Yeah, see, this is one of the where I get into some of the small nuanced irritations with Ninja Trader. Okay, oil. Oil uses the NYMEX Energy ETH. Trading hours. A NYMEX. Oh, that's freaking weird. Where is NYMEX Energy ETH? Did I have that right? Let's check that again. Crude oil futures. Oh, it says NYMEX Metals Energy ETH. Okay. So now check with me. Does your template say that? Does your template say NYMEX Metals Energy ETH? Isn't that weird? Okay. But then when we come in here, it is 2026. We're still in August 11. 08. Yeah, so on mine, I'm having issues on ZB, ZF, and CL. If I update instrument settings and stuff, does that still work on the old version? It's just churning. Oh, maybe it did something. I don't know. Reset TV. You know what I'm gonna do? This is probably a bad idea, but I'm gonna do it. Save workspace. I did that. So in my Ninja Trader, you know, I have this saved folder. I put all of my stuff in the saved folder, so that I can come in here and just delete the DB folder. How big is it? Oh, Ninja Trader. Oh, Ninja Trader. 23 gigabytes. Yeah, reload historical data wasn't working though. $256,000 items and 30 gigabytes. I mean, it's kind of odd that all of us with Ninja Trader would be having issues on the 8.0 branch. That's a weird issue. It's a weird issue, and I'm having a hard time sorting out in my head what could cause something like that, you know? Okay, so when I do this, it's just not running. Canceling. I think I need to... Oh, wait. Did it delete it anyways? Wait, what? That was a mistake. Wait, is it in the trash bin maybe? Oh, that's so funny. Okay. Recycling bin. Yeah, it's there. It's there in the recycling bin. I'm gonna restore it. Nah. I'm kind of like, if it doesn't immediately happen, there's something wrong. Control delete. Right? No, is that not it? Is it shift delete? Permanently delete this folder. Yes. Open in another program, huh? Yeah, luckily we're beta testing my platform. I know, right? It's like... But it's very also curious to me that you guys are on the 8.0 branch. That you're part of this contingent of people that don't want to move over to the new and improved Ninja Trader. So we are running into a bug basically on the branch that Ninja Trader isn't really holding anymore. Yeah. No trust. Okay. The only way that I know to solve this... I don't know. I've been having some weird problems like this because I had an issue. This reminds me of an issue that I had yesterday, which was that I was having trouble committing to my Git T, and it turned out that there was some bots hitting the server and slowing it down. So once a restart fixed that, and then I had to change a few things to prevent them from getting on. But okay, so the news squawk is saying that the Pakistani minister is due in Iran soon. I still think that what's going on here is that okay, that's good. They are trying to squeeze Iran, and they are doing everything to placate markets in the meantime and try and give themselves more running space. And so far, it seems to be working. It seems to me, and maybe they know something I don't. Like, because it seems like if humans were in charge of everything, that this wouldn't work anymore. But it keeps working. It's like something to do with the way that the algorithms are going and everything. They can just get away with this every time. Okay, I'm going to pause the stream, restart my machine, come back, okay? Okay. So we are back. The delete is working now. You know, this is something that I've always had as an issue with NinjaTrader, though, to be honest, is that if you go too long without deleting the database cache, like weird stuff starts to happen, right? It used to be that if you went too long without rebuilding your workspace, that was also a thing that would cause problems. They no longer support Continuum. Okay. Yes, that's great. Okay. It looked to me like that it was like the whole beginning of that session was not there. Okay, so NinjaTrader is still loading here. I'll show you the screen because it's loading really slowly. So you can see there, ZN looks like it did. Ah, now it is loading ZB data. Is loaded ZF data. Okay, so that does not really explain what's going on. Oh, I need to turn on the music, don't I? And where is Spotify? Spotify. If you need a fly, try Spotify. Okay. Still hasn't loaded oil, though. Still churning. Now pull up Claude here too. Finish what he was doing. Oil, what's going on? Oh, this is interesting. Hey, you know what I'm noticing though? It's on 0926. That's not right. Shouldn't it be, isn't you October? Well, now it's loaded something. But why is that? Yeah. Oh no, September is you. October is V. Oh no, 09 is correct. 09, September is, yeah. You. Okay. It's not that. Well, that is incredibly odd. And it's still doing something because Ninja Trader's acting kind of slow. Even though it looks to me like everything is completed loading. But it might be doing something like rebuilding the database or something. So now we can see overnight oil was moving higher, and later on, just before I got, 30 minutes before I got into the shower, so that's why it wasn't in any of the headlines that I read this morning while I was getting ready. There was these headlines that came in and pushed oil back down, and the treasuries recovered probably more than is probably justified by all of that. Still being a little bit iffy, but I think we're good. That's really weird. We'll come back over here. Well, I should be opening up my platform, but I'm having Claude make a change here that's a relatively risky change. And I don't want it to get disrupted, so I'm just going to leave the application turned off so that it doesn't get any of these, like, you know, if it tries to build it, the issue where it's already open and it can't do that. Oh, this is interesting. So while that's going, let's read some Reddit stuff. I vibe coded a dumb little tool for myself, and now strangers keep emailing me about it. I built this for exactly one reason. My screenshots folder had thousands of files, all named screenshot, and I could never find a single one. So one evening, I vibe coded a tiny thing that looks at each screenshot, reads what's actually in it, and renames it to something human, receipt, Uber, March, etc. Took maybe 2 evenings. Most of that was arguing with the model about file permissions, not the actual logic. I posted it in a random Discord thinking 3 people might care. A couple hundred folks have run it now, and I keep getting emails asking, can it do this for my downloads folder too? I did not plan for a downloads folder. I am learning what scope creep feels like from the inside. The part that surprised me was that the boring problem was the good problem. I wasn't trying to build a startup. I wanted to find one file, and it turns out a lot of people have the exact same tiny annoyance. Well, but I don't think that anybody's willing to pay for that, though. That is the thing. That's interesting. That's the most pointless. That it asks this strange leading question at the very end says to me that he wrote this with AI, and maybe it's a fake story. You ever, when these happen, do you ever come and look at it? Okay, it's 10 months old. 85 contributions. They keep their posts hidden. Okay. Okay, now Ninja Trader is acting completely normal now. So now my question is, how do I feel about this change and this move up in the treasuries? And I can see there was a big iceberg at 15.5. I don't know why that says open there. Let's come in and like put on our levels, because that is a key level. Okay. Inflation feels like a lie. They tell you that inflation is 3%, while utilities are up 30%, groceries are up 20%, gas is up 15%, the price of a car is up 12%, and rent is up 10%. Versus when? Because you know that inflation number is a yearly thing. So it compounds. So after 5 years, then it ends up being like a 10% thing. Yeah. keep looking back and seeing all three saying. So you have CL history. Yes. I deleted my database folder and restarted NinjaTrader, and it fixed it. Cool, thanks. There we go. There we go. Now, next time I read it, I see, yes, that discussion thread is complete. From r/memes. Oh, they removed it. Oh, that's funny, but I can still see it over here. Her hands look like this, so my hands can look like this, and it shows a picture. This actually looks like a man's hand, but, you know, they're all dirty working at a factory, and his hands are on a controller. Stay-at-home boyfriends and husbands are on the rise as women overtake men in U.S. payroll jobs. You guys remember this whole argument? Well, I mean, not remember, but you heard this whole argument that, like, if women are discriminated against and paid less, then companies would just only hire women because they'd be cheaper. Well, if there was a systemic bias causing companies to pay women less, then I would think that what would eventually happen is that somebody would realize that there's that bias and start hiring more women. And then everybody would do it, and then there'd be more women employed than men. So wait, that's what's happening. And you know what the other thing is women are I gotta be really careful what I say here, right? It seems to me that women are better behaved in a desk job, right? Like, they are hiring more women. They're hiring more women. And you know what? It's not like the men were happy in the white collar world, right? Like there really is, I think, this issue that, like, society has kind of developed in a way that is not very conducive to the way that I think a lot of men work or want to be. Men want to take risks, climb the hierarchy, all of that sort of a thing. And the system has said, no, I don't want to do that. You just all should stay peons. And men don't like that. So now you have this mass number of men out there looking for a place. And the only place they can really find that really satisfies that desire to take risks and climb the social ladder and whatnot is video games. Except for that all the video games sucked, so, like, jeez. Well, that's so funny that it was 1 hour. I already had 368 comments and the moderators deleted it. That's must have been an awfully controversial thread. Oh, let's see. Can we read the comments? Yes. You say this like it's a problem, but I support feminism. Now let me get back to my Xbox while she works 60-hour weeks. Ooh, that's terrible. As long as you don't neglect the children in choice, you think that they're gonna have children? POV, you're too ashamed to flirt while unemployed. Oh man. My dream job is stay at home help. No, not me. Maybe it's just my kids, because you know they're all ADHD and autistic and whatnot. But when I was at home and my wife was working a job, that was hell. Oh, I hated it so much. Because all I'm sitting there doing is thinking, I would like to do this, and I can't work on any of the things that I want to work on. I can't. You know, I was talking to somebody last week. They were saying, yeah, we're tryhards. Yes, I'm a tryhard. That's what it is. If I'm gonna play a game, I'm gonna try hard. If I'm gonna have dreams, I'm gonna try hard. Man, you know what? The comments weren't even that bad. They deleted it for no reason. It was inconvenient to the narrative, apparently. So how is Claude invisibly watermarking AI generated text? I would really like to know how it's doing that. What are you talking about? What's else? I don't know what you're talking about. Oh yeah, this is that guy that he was running. Where is it? He won a primary though somewhere, right? Yes, that's right. That was the guy that, like, they asked him about Hassan Piker's comments that, like, America deserved 9/11 and all of this sort of stuff, and he wouldn't condemn it. He wouldn't condemn it. Yeah, in Michigan. Is he, I can't remember. Let's look here. Michigan, Senate poll. Continue without subscribing. Thank you. Wait. Oh, okay. This poll must have been before the primary. When the general election, they were favoring Stevens, but El Said was the one that won. But it looks like that it's been close, and that right now Rogers is +3. So this is the one where it seems like he's not going to win. He basically, well, yeah, but Marty, are you running interference for him, or like do you see that as a serious answer? Because if you ask somebody in the United States, hey, do you think that the United States deserved 9/11? You don't go, why are you asking me that question? You say no. That's an easy question. That's a slam dunk question. Of course I don't support terrorism. Or are you crazy? Now you can go after the media after that. You can say, no, of course I don't support terrorism. Why would you even ask something stupid like that, right? But if he doesn't deny it, what the F? What's going on there? Right? And all politicians play this game, right? There's a certain question, because this is what the media does. So they say, here's a question that it should be easy to answer, but if they say this thing, a certain portion of his supporters won't like it. So he avoids actually answering the question. That's what it is. That's what it is. But also, I think he agrees with Hassan. Don't you think that he probably agrees with Hassan? And this is this guy is a DSA member too, right? Let's see here. El Said, is he a DSA? Democratic Socialists of America? He is not a member of the Democrat Socialists of America, though he draws strong support from the progressive wing of the party and has spoken at DSA aligned events. Okay. That's false. Who would say that in their right mind? Hassan Piker would say that in his right mind. I mean, that was the whole thing, was that's what Hassan Piker said. They were asking him to denounce Hassan Piker. I mean, Trump did the same thing, right? Trump did the exact same thing. Is they would be like, do you condemn these racists and blah 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 blah. And like he did, but like they kept asking him it and he kept giving non-answers. Right? Like he answered it one time and then was like ever after that, you know. And that's the thing, what you're going to see is that they're probably going to keep asking him the question over and over again, or different versions of the question. And here's the thing. We're against all forms of terror, even in Palestine. Oh, okay. You know, I haven't mentioned this at all, but did you see the whole thing that Netanyahu came out against Donald Trump's peace plan for Gaza? Because remember, Trump had this plan where it was like this phased rollout and everything. And they were getting people on board this plan of peace and that to rebuild Gaza and all of this stuff. And that was like months, and that was a long time ago. Wasn't that maybe even last year? And then all of a sudden Netanyahu comes out against it? Probably what's going on here is Netanyahu is saying, well, if you're gonna not cooperate with us on Iran, then we're not gonna support your peace plan thing over here. That's got to be what that is. I mean, I can't prove that, but with the way that the foreign policy works and everything, the timing of it is probably not. The timing of it is probably not coincidental. Isn't that what's going on? I think that Netanyahu really wants to escalate the conflict in Iran. I think Netanyahu wants to escalate the conflict in Iran, and the U.S. administration feels that any kind of escalation short of a full-on invasion would be pointless, and they can't stomach the full-on invasion. So they want to just continue to squeeze Iran economically. And Netanyahu doesn't like that. So now he's pulling other diplomatic strings. Isn't that kind of a curious development in all of this? I thought so. And I wouldn't say that it flew under the radar, but it's not being discussed super heavily. Now the treasuries are continuing past 15.5, and I'm finding this move a little, it's starting to get jarring. Because you look at it and it's like, okay, well, but then that would take us to 19, and then where would we be after 19? Would be, well, let's come back over here and look. 19. I guess that's still into like yesterday's prices and everything. It just seems a little bit too far for me still. Okay, well, let's check how Claude did with our changes. This is either gonna be like, okay, it still works fine, or it's gonna be like a total disaster. I'm worried that it's gonna be a total disaster because it's pretty risky change, let's say. Pretty major architecture change here. Might break some things. Hmm. Okay, so they broke something. The thing that broke seems like something that should not have been touched. That's curious. Oh, I see. Okay. It is a bug that it introduced. Thanks for helping fix the ninja trade. Yeah. Isn't weird? Well, I'm glad that you got data. And definitely, like, when you have that whole... Well, let's come back. For those of you that weren't here for it. People that are watching this in 100 years. I honestly believe that there will be people that will watch some of my streams like hundreds of years from now. Some historian or researcher or somebody like that wants a better insight into what people were thinking. If you come in, you look here at what happened to oil overnight, there's this big up move and this big down move. And if all you got was basically like from here to here, then that's awfully confusing, isn't it? So I am glad that we fixed that. One of the things I'm noticing with my application, because I've been pretty liberal with it doing the comments and stuff like that, and letting it do the comments, and it will like make changes to the comments when it doesn't really need to, and it will write really big comments. And so I think that could be inflating the line count. Like there's not as many lines of code as my tools are telling me because of the comments. Ooh, so we did get to 19. That was awfully quick, guys. I am... And why is the E-mini selling so hard here? Is this a bigger play on the whole AI debt financing thing? Because NVIDIA was saying yesterday that they've done like $500 billion worth of financing through partners or something like that. And NVIDIA credit spreads are rising. And now, here are the first 30 minutes of the S&P 500 open. It's a sell. And the treasuries have been buying pretty aggressively all morning before that. There's something curious going on here. I think it's funny that it reads the comments as like an extension of context. Codex reads the comments and uses them as a source of truth. No. While it constantly is saying, oh, that's not actually the case, I'm going to change that. And like the things that it will like pick up on and say like that's not necessarily accurate are things that I'm like, well, it's not, it wasn't wrong. It's just all of the sudden you seem to care about something that I don't know why you care about it. And so far, I've kind of taken that. So you know what happens? This is actually a really weird thing that I've had happen to me. Is that it'll get into a situation like that. And I'll be like, no, that doesn't make sense. Don't do that. Right? And then later on down the line, something comes up and it's like, oh, actually, this does matter. We should change it to the way that it was before. And, yeah. I don't know how much of a difference that makes or what, you know, how many times I'd be right and wrong and whatnot, but I've definitely had it happen to me enough times that I've kind of decided that if it says something that I don't completely understand, that it's, and it just doesn't seem relevant, that it's probably best to leave it alone. That it's probably picking up something from architecture in another application that does help make your application better. I don't know. Okay, so the change works. I don't know if I would say it's faster. It seems like it's smoother. Like it's updating on a less frequent but more consistent basis. It sure looks smooth when I look at the other charts, though. And part of it might be the sticking to things. So I am going to close it for a second. I am not using any well, the only, I guess, the library I'm using for the charts is WGPU. I built the charts from scratch. I'm trying to think, because one of the things that I'm thinking, nice, yeah, one of the things that I'm thinking, maybe it's just my trauma or something. I remember before I embarked on this, somebody was like, nah, there's no point in making a software because anybody else will make it. And my response is, no, I think that I will make it better than anybody else. I think that the combination of skills and perspective that I have is truly unique. There are not really very many people out there that have an understanding of how the professional world works, but is so deep into the retail trading world in that community. Basically, you have to have somebody that was in the financial industry, is a day trading creator, and is a really strong programmer. I'm the only one. So I think I can make it better than anybody else. But I do look at certain parts of the application and I go, okay, well, how much of the application is me and how much of it is the AI? Well, I think that the rendering bit was one of the places where because everything before that was very much me doing the code by hand and making sure I understood everything and that every little decision was what I wanted. Then you get to the GPU parts. I started to realize, but that was still the point at which I said, okay, we need to do this, we need to do that. I didn't just give it like whole features. So I think that if you wanted to go and make your own platform, you probably could get it to make charts. You could probably get it to make charts, for sure. They probably wouldn't be the same as my charts. Now, is my charts better or not? I guess that remains to be seen. Especially when you're just talking about the rendering of it, right? What makes the one better or not? They both draw a chart. Who cares? I don't know. But there was I definitely injected a lot, and I mean a lot, of opinion into the architecture of this, including the charts part. So there are some parts of my application that I think would be very difficult for other people to copy. For me, I have separated execution from charting. And you used side charts. With this one, because I was thinking yesterday, do I need a headless mode? But with the way that things work, I think if you wanted to do that, you should just run the application without opening any charts. Because it's completely multi-threaded, and the way I'm able to do certain things that other applications have a really hard time with. So, you get these things where it's like, you don't want to have all of this other stuff running because that could slow down your algorithm and blah, 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 blah. So it's better to have it in a separate process. Not the case with my application, because we're using Rust and we get fearless concurrency. So they're running in completely separate processes, and they can communicate, but they're just fine, and it's no big deal. And you get the benefits because it handles the data all correctly and everything. Okay, what are you doing here? Okay, it's messing with the cache a little bit. Okay, so it is going through. Okay, the sync throttle. I understand the thing it's saying here, but some of these changes, I'm wondering, okay. Okay, so it's changing the sync logic. And then it's updating this plan with what we just found and did. Okay. Let's try it again. Yeah, I thought that it was spending a lot of time and making a lot of changes, but actually the change that it just made there was a really teeny tiny one. You use Rust, Python, Marutan. Yeah, but why with side charts? I don't know if... So there are definitely, so like this whole thing that it's going through right now, where we're going like, okay, how smooth does the crosshair feel? And even getting into some other stuff that maybe I'll do much later, like special effects that look super cool and stuff like that. You really can't do that unless you own the whole rendering pipeline. You get what I mean? Okay. Ooh, that's better. I don't know if I like it. Has a thing where like the crosshair pins to the bars. I don't know if I actually like that. Oh, do I have a setting to turn that off? Let's see here. Total settings. The treasuries came back there quickly. I didn't miss a headline, did I? Oh, I may have, because I'm not hearing the news squawk. It could be, though, that the S&P 500 seems to have reversed at exactly the point at where the treasuries are reversing. Okay, anyways. Yeah, VSync is turned off. Snap free. Okay. Something that I find really curious. And let me come. One of the things is that it will like change depending on which one you're looking at. When I do it on this one down here, it doesn't seem like it's as smooth as this one. So there was this thing earlier on, which was that like the update loop is different for the active window versus the inactive windows, and so I've also been struggling with that. I think a Rust app running on the PC will be. Yeah, well, yeah, doing it. But I was more advocating for, if you're building your own trading platform, for doing the charts yourself. Or at the very least, for trying to justify why I'm doing the charts myself. I don't know. Because I think the thing that's going to happen is we're going to put this out, and then people are going to say, okay, here's a new platform, and it does all of these things. But should I really pay a monthly fee for this platform, or should I try to make my own? And so I've been looking at this from the perspective of, okay, I really have to make sure that I'm doing some things that people aren't just going to be able to do on their own, and providing value beyond that. Right? So owning the entire rendering loop is one of those things. It kind of seems to me that this change that the AI proposed, works, but maybe didn't give us a whole lot. I mean, when I do that on Ninja Trader, I'd say that's pretty smooth. Right? Oh my gosh. A modest proposal. Performance review for senators. The Senate can institute a rule that once a month the citizen constituents of each state will be able to vote electronically on whether they wish to retain or dismiss their senator. That is such a terrible idea. Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh, I can't believe people are giving ideas like that serious thought. Hmm. I mean, my cursor is crosshair is just as smooth as Ninja Trader's is. Just seems like maybe I could get it better. I'd also say this whole thing, like when I move it around really rapidly, I don't know if you can, yeah, you wouldn't be able to see, but like, and I look at the other charts on Ninja Trader, you know, I just kind of see a line like going around wildly. But when I do it over here, it like, and I look at the other chart, it does it so smoothly. That to me is really wild. It feels weird that like the other window does it so smoothly. But that does kind of support this argument that it's trying to make, that it's that the drawing the text for the time and the price is taking too long. So, oh, by the way, what is it saying here for volatility? It seems the numbers seem a little odd. Oh, how come on this one it doesn't tell me? Oh, 6%. I think that the difference there is the sessions. So shouldn't worry about it. I don't think I have a setting for it, do I? Should double check that. Oh, I do have a setting. Show readout. Okay. So here's another great example of, if the LLM was left completely to its own devices, it would have just gone ahead and done this thing and done that thing. I say, oh no, wait, hold on, we can test this way. We can do this, right? So like, how much of it is me and how much of it is the LLM? I would really like to know. I don't know if it matters, but I would really like to know. Also, it feels weird to me to be able to go till 9 o'clock again today. Have discussions and then decide, yeah. I do a lot of that. And do you get like this decision fatigue too? Like, that is one of these things, is that you're making so many decisions on how the app is going to run. You can't keep track of all of the decisions that you've made. And sometimes you might want to go back and like, oh, that was a bad decision and that was a bad decision, but it just kind of all disappears into the ether. You forget about it. Well, by the way, remember we were at 15.5 and I was like, okay, it moved 2 ticks beyond that. And I was kind of like, well, is it going to go to 19? That seems like that's a little bit too jarring of a move, but that certainly seems like where it's headed. And then they did get up to 19, but they fell all the way back to 15.5 just as quickly. The E-mini hasn't completely recovered either, by the way. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. What did we call it before? Trump saying that they have complete control over Iran's money. Hold on, hold on. So it's like if I don't look at it right away, then it gives me that notification thing again. The noise is horrific. You don't like it? You don't like the Pokemon sound effects? I love it. It gives ChatGPT so much character, I think. Okay. So now it's, I asked him, is it a good change? And instead of just going straight to, is it a good change or not, it's going through all of its mistakes that it made while it was, almost as if it's trying to justify itself, which I think is kind of funny. Like, logically, it shouldn't do that. But in a company, if we do a change and then we do a review of that change afterwards, like, was this actually a good change? Should we adopt it or not? And those are exactly the things that the developers would say, isn't it? Is like, yeah, we think it's a good change. The reason why you might think that it's not entirely a good change is because I made this mistake and this mistake and this mistake first. But now we've gotten through those and it's all perfect, right? I just think it's really interesting when you can kind of see these odd behaviors that you wouldn't expect a robot to make, but are baked in from the data set, essentially. Claude, watermarking our work is unethical and disgusting. Don't you think that we should give the LLM credit where it can? Here's the thing that I don't think people are thinking about here is that because I've seen this before where with code, people hate that Claude will put itself that it helped generate everything into the code commit, into the commit message. They don't like that. I think that that's relevant information that a decade from now you might have some use for, because a decade from now they might be able to say, okay, here are the different LLMs and here are the different mistakes that they would tend to make. And if you can go through and look at, okay, where was this piece of code written and which LLM model was it written by, and then it could detect the problems and craft solutions for them faster, as an example. Then on top of that, there's the whole training thing where it's like, okay, we probably don't want to use this code in a training set because it was generated by this LLM that has this known problem or whatever, right? Like that. recording this stuff is going to be important at some point, I think. So I'm okay with the watermark, but what are they actually? What is the watermark actually? Because like they're saying that they're putting a watermark on the text. How does that work? And is this watermark something that other people will be able to see? Yeah, so that they can just discriminate that Claude generated stuff in training data. Exactly. Oh, and this is being compliant with EU and California laws. Is that the case? The real reason Opie is upset is everybody's going to see that he can't even write his Reddit posts himself. Aubrey says spacing oddness, etc. Yeah, like I because I wonder if OP is thinking that like that means that every text that he generates, there's going to be a generated by Claude at the end and you can't get rid of it or something like that. But it doesn't sound to me like that's what it is at all. It sounds to me like they're saying that they're going to implement some sort of strange, subtle change in the text that is very easy for them to detect, but that a human would never notice. And if it's that, number one, you should be able to remove the watermark once you know what it is. And two, it's still a good thing. And the people saying that work done using AI isn't yours are just anti-adopters whose ego and self-worth is tied to writing code. As engineers, our worth is problem solving and idea creation. Writing code was an accepted nuance that we don't have to deal with now. When paint rollers came into the trade, old-timers viewed them as cheating and refused to use them. Just as dumb as folk clinging to the skill that's necessary, that's secondary to what you're hired for as an engineer. If you were to figure out an equation using a scientific calculator, would you credit the calculator? I feel like this is a little different from like I did a calculation with a calculator. And yes, I would say that I used the calculator. I would say that I used it. I wouldn't credit the calculator, but I would point out that it was done with a calculator because then that I know certain things about the veracity of that calculation, right? I know that you know the calculator calculated perfectly what the human entered, but I don't know what the human entered. So if there's a problem with it, I'm going to debug it differently, knowing that it was done through a calculator. If it was done by a human, then I'm going to go, okay, well, give me all of the work, and we're going to go through every step and just make sure that you did your math correctly first. Okay? Rather than starting to look at some of the base assumptions. But it still depends on how you make the watermark. Because if you're like changing certain words or the phrasing of things, that kind of seems like maybe a problem to me. Maybe I should have been doing the one tick trade over here in NQ. I'm looking at it right now and thinking, oh yeah, actually. That looks like a good spot. Problem is, I don't think that I have a really solid read on the current trend. How was, oh, because I was dealing with this other thing, I didn't even get into it. It should be relatively simple to do it once again. I don't know. I get nervous about trying to make multiple work on multiple branches at the same time, depending on the type of change that it is. Yeah. Can't really find, well, so if we do get MBO data, we should be able to detect stops, and I think that whether there's an edge in that or not doesn't matter. We could do an analysis of the market and the impact of stop orders. That would be valuable data either way. At the very least, it would allow us to disprove certain theories, right? Because there's kind of this idea that stops have a more impact on the market, that certain things are caused by stops. And I kind of suspect that stops are probably mostly Gaussian. Sometimes. I have an iceberg indicator that works really well sometimes. Okay, let's see here. This is the first change where I expect the difference to be obvious by feel. That's mighty strong wording there, Claude. I'm really skeptical about what. Hey, Steph, how are you doing today? Mr. Seth, I don't know that is factor in your volatility code. Well, how are you looking at my volatility code? Which one are you talking about? So the factor is basically when you get a volatility number, that number is usually represented as like a full year volatility, right? So when I come in here and it says DX is 6.1%, what it's actually saying is that based on how much it moves, we would expect you to make or lose 6% in a year from holding that asset. That's what that means. Volatility. Oh, project. You mean the trading view indicator? Yes. Okay. So when we get a number, we're saying it's going to move 6% in a year. But we want to know how much it's going to move in a day. So we have to convert from yearly volatility into daily volatility. And the way that you do that is you times it by, or divide it by, the square root of the number of days. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the square root of 255. That's where that 15 point blah, 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 blah comes from. Right? So this is where volatility gets really, really interesting. Is there's different ways of looking and considering it. You might say, well, really, shouldn't it be for the full year? So we should use the square root of 365. But I've made the choice that no, we the market's not open 365 days, so we're only looking at the number of trading days in a year. Right? Those sorts of things would matter even more if you were to make a more advanced model that is trying to take into effect like current changes. So say we have a certain amount of volatility, right? And then we're saying, based on this volatility, we would expect the S&P 500 to be unable to get above or below these levels based on the current volatility. But what if there was a big news piece, some big news event, and we moved up really, really quickly? And then everything calmed down, and now we're back to the regular volatility. How far from that initial place that we rose to should we be able to move from based off of that? Well, now you're going to have to think about things like how much of the day is left and all of these sorts of things. And you might also have to, and so when you're doing that, you have to consider how much time is left, how much of the volatility is actually... Let me start over again. To figure out, how much volatility should be left, you're going to have to split the day up a little bit. You're going to have to say, well, a certain percentage of the volatility is from the overnight move when it's closed, and a certain portion of it happens at the open, and a certain portion of it happens at the close. And we're at this point, and how much of that, and to figure out how much of that day's volatility should be left, right? So there's a lot of little teeny tiny decisions that you can potentially make with volatility, which is why I make the factor modifiable. So that you can say, in a certain situation, I actually want to use this different factor. And you can even kind of start and do these like your own kind of tests. Like empirical tests to see, okay, when I use this, how good does it? Oh my God. It said this is the first one where there will be like a noticeable difference. Yeah, there is. Especially on this one. Probably if there's still a difference between the active window and the non-active window. It's really tiny. Wow. I'm looking for a way to combine it with VWAP. Why? So here's the thing. Just like a huge suggestion, okay? Research has found that edges with a solid economic explanation behind them are more robust than coincidental statistical advantages that we can find. Okay. So it's basically saying, okay, if I come in and I say, I think that we shouldn't be able to, that we should be able to predict counterflows, mean reversion flows, when we get to the extremes of where the at the money options are pricing, because market makers are going to change their behaviors there. So we're making a prediction about future flows based on those levels, right? VWAP gets a little weirder because, well, certain institutions maybe execute differently based on VWAP, but that has never been shown to show alpha to it. Just to say, like, we've shown that executing off of the VWAP is better than random for institutions, but that doesn't mean that you get some sort of effective signals based off of those, that it provides alpha, right? So that's the first thing, is that VWAP has not shown any predictive value, or let's just say alpha. Okay, VWAP has not shown any alpha, especially not for like outright trades, right? But then the next thing would be like, why would the combination of those two things, what is the economic reason for the combination of those things to be valuable? Right? Want to analyze both volume and volatility. Oh, okay, but like it, and this comes back to the VWAP thing, is like VWAP is not actually predicting anything. I think that people kind of have this idea in their head that's like, well, because the institutions use it, I should be able to predict what the institutions are going to use or what the institutions are going to do. No, it doesn't. Because ultimately, VWAP has no bearing on whether future orders are going to be buy or sell, right? It is entirely dependent on what large meta orders are at work in the market. And somebody might be buying, and there might be another guy that's about to come in right now and start selling. Or maybe the guy that was buying, he's done, or maybe he's not done. Maybe he has way, way more to buy. And that's going to be the thing that determines whether we go up or down, and not necessarily the VWAP. And they might use the VWAP to execute, but the VWAP doesn't have any bearing on how big those meta orders are, or whether they're going to continue or reverse, or somebody else is going to come in, right? Whereas our volatility levels do, right? The volatility levels say option market makers are going to start making there's going to be a very clear change in their flows at this level. You should be able to see it. And then in some instances, that might provide an edge to you. You see the difference? I hope that makes sense. VWAP acts like zero gamma in options? Okay. So, which is to say it's a neutral place? And the reason why I harp on this so much is because I have done so many back tests with VWAP, and it just doesn't do what people say it does. They're misapplying it. My position is, unless you're executing a large meta order, VWAP does not provide any advantage to you. You might as well not look at it. You need to look at things that we have reason to believe will predict future orders. Will directly predict future orders. So. Okay, what was I going to do? Oh, yes. Okay. What do we got? 10 minutes left? I'm really hoping with our new platform and the ability to kind of like say, because one of the issues that you get is that if you're going and you're looking at price, there's too much noise in price to really see if there's something. So, once you have the order flow data saved, you can run some of these studies to say, okay, does this actually predict flows or not? And then I can combine flows with what's happening in other instruments, the correlations and everything, to sort out if there's a good trade. See, people think what I need to do is I need to take the current price and do all these transformations on the current price, and then that will give me some trade. And I'm saying, no. What you actually want to do is you want to look at the order flow underneath of it. And then you are going to look at all of these other things and say, is there a correlation between this thing and that order flow? Right? Okay, so now I have all these things that can predict the order flow. Now that I can predict the order flow, I'm going to take the order flow plus the correlated instruments. I'm going to use that to make an estimate for what I think price in this instrument is going to be. And that's the process that you have to do to be able to make like effective price predictions. AI finally made solo game development possible for me, but now I feel like my game has no soul. Oh boy, this one's gonna be interesting. Oh, let's read this. See here. I mean, flow can change in an instant, and correlation can tell you what's happening in the market now, but they can't predict anything. Basically. But see, there's kind of a special exception for VWAP, because the way that retail traders treat it, they think that VWAP is something that is a prediction. It's not just a correlation, it's a prediction that whether we're above or below the VWAP, that institutions will change their behavior, right? So that's why it's kind of a different fallacy, right? So the first fallacy is patterns in price can predict future price. There is information embedded in the chart that can predict where it's going to go in the near future. That has been pretty effectively been disproven. So then we come back and we say, but there is other data that can predict where it's going. And they're saying, well, when you actually use a volume weighted price, so we bring in another piece of information, and then there are certain situations where it will give some predictive value, right? And they have a reasoning behind why they think that that is, right? But the reality is that that doesn't do it either. And I'm just trying to explain the fallacy. Why doesn't it actually predict that? Because the flows are what they are. And they might be using VWAP to execute the flows, but that doesn't determine how big the flow is or what other flows might come in later. That's why it doesn't work, right? Whereas I can look at something like news stories about oil and pretty effectively show that that predicts future orders, right? Okay. Well, that's a weird thing to call. I'm going to stop the stream now. I will talk to you guys later.